Hello everybody, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jackie and I create mosaics using sea glass. And today I'm going to show you how you can take a painting that you really love and use that as your design for creating a sea glass mosaic. So if you've been watching my videos, you may have seen a few videos that I've done in the past about how I've created a sea glass mosaic of a heron. And this one behind me is one of them. And I've also done a few others. And if you want to see those, you can click on the icon above and it will take you to those videos. And if you've watched those videos, you would know that I'm really in love with herons. They just really inspire me, and I love the lines, and I love the way they gracefully fly through the air. There's everything about herons I just love. So I've been taking a few painting classes, and when my paint teacher offered to do a class on a heron, I signed up right away. So I just finished my class last week, and this was the heron that I did, and I thought, oh, I'm going to use that pattern and use that drawing to create a sea glass mosaic. So today I'm going to show you how I do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm taking the picture, the sketch. This is the sketch that I used to create this painting, and I'm going to use that as my pattern for creating a sea glass mosaic. So I'm just going to tape that sketch onto this piece of cardboard, and I'm going to put it in the back of the frame. And there, I'm all set. I'm ready to start my sea glass mosaic. So let's get started, and I'll show you some of the finer details. So here I have my painting, and here I have my frame with the exact same sketch that I used to create the painting taped underneath the glass. So when you're attempting to create a sea glass mosaic from a painting, there's a few things I'd advise you to do. The first thing is to keep your painting beside you while you're working on your sea glass mosaic. Not that you're going to create it exactly the same, but just to provide you with inspiration while you're working. And if you're working in a particular spot, you might look back at the painting and say, oh, that's the shape that I want to get from the piece of sea glass. So you can rifle through your pile of sea glass and find just the right shapes that you want to create the effect you want. The second thing I'd advise you to do is to simplify the sketch. In this case, I haven't done that. I've just taken the same sketch that I use for my painting, and I've just taped that same sketch onto the back of the glass. However, if you have a painting that you particularly like and you have to create a sketch, what I'd advise you to do is to go around and draw the outline so that you know the outline of what you're going to do, and then just add a few details. So if I wanted to redraw this sketch, what I would do is draw the outline. I would put the eye in just where I want it. I would put the line for the mouth of the beak. And the other thing I think I would do is put in this secondary wing that's here. This is sort of the forewing, and then these are the back feathers. And the other thing I would do in this sketch, there's 3 lines of feathers. And you can see in my painting, I have the 3 lines of feathers. So I might draw those in. But beyond that, I wouldn't put in all of these little marks that I put in when I was creating the painting. Because in a painting, when you're using a brush stroke, you can really achieve small, tiny little details, and you just can't do that with sea glass. But that's okay, because it's a totally different art form. So the third thing I would advise you to do is to start with your foreground, because if you remember with sea glass, you're trying to fit pieces in together. So when you were painting, you'd start with the background and then add the foreground in later. And in this case, your foreground are these great big leaves. So what I would do before I start with the brown for the heron, because I'm planning to make all the leaves brown, I would get a bunch of green in place for these leaves. One of the things that I'm trying to do as I work my way down these blades of grass is that I start off fairly skinny at the top, and then they gradually get wider as you go down. So I'm just picking out bigger pieces of sea glass as I go. And then if I find a piece of sea glass that might be smaller than where I'm at right here, like here's a piece that's smaller, I might shift them all down a bit and then fit this piece in up here. Just because it helps create a little bit more depth and dimension in your blade of grass. The other thing that I would advise you to do is to not necessarily stick to your painting. Because in this case, as I'm working on these blades of grass, I'm thinking, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blades of grass, but I think I want more blades of grass than that. So what I'm probably going to do is, once I get these ones done, I may add in a few more. The other thing that I always do is I always put in a nukshuk in my pieces, and I think what I'll do, just to add a little bit more green at the bottom of this one, is I'll put a green nukshuk down here. So I think that's all the green I'm going to do for now. The other thing that I want to do is for the feathers. I know I've got these 3 rows of feathers, so what I'm thinking I'll do is I'll pick out a bunch of triangular blues, or sorry, these aren't blues, these are browns. And I'll try to get a few rows of feathers happening here. So if you just keep in mind that the 2 things that you're trying to achieve, number 1 is the outline, and number 2 is some details in the heron. So it's not going to have nearly as many details as I have in the painting, but it will still give you the feeling of a heron standing in the grass. So after I got my blades of green grass all glued on, I filled in the back with brown because that's some of the heron's feathers showing behind the grass. And what I did here, if you look at my painting, I've got these 3 layers of feathers along here, and then some other bigger feathers down here, and some dark ones in the background. So I tried to get layers of feathers in my sea glass by arranging the sea glass along here. I think it might be effective. Hopefully by the time I get it finished, it will look like layers of feathers, and then I'll just fill in these sections here, the background, with white. The other thing that I'm hoping will be effective here, if you notice on the heron, there's this wing here, and then there's the wing in the background that's a little lighter. One of the things I love about brown sea glass is it comes in all different shades. So if you look along here, I've used darker shades of brown, and then in here I've used lighter shades in the hopes that it's going to show this as a different section of the wing. And then I'm going to continue on down here with the lighter shades of brown. And then as I go up here on this part of the heron's neck, I'm going to use darker shades again to denote a different section of the heron. And hopefully that'll work. And then I'll find some more tiny pieces of brown to get this big thing, that feather that sticks off the back of the heron's head. So there you go. I have my sea glass heron finished, and I think the likeness of the heron is very similar to the painting. It's different, obviously, because with paint you can put in a lot of little finicky details that obviously you can't get with sea glass. However, it's just a totally different art form, and I think that using this heron painting as inspiration for my sea glass heron has worked fairly well for me. So now the area that I'm working on, I need to fill in the background with white. And that's going to be fairly straightforward. It's not that hard to just say, okay, everything that's left is going to be white. So I just have to fuss to find the pieces that will fit. The area that I have to be finicky about is where you have the feathers and you have all of these little grooves in here. And if you don't take your time in an area like this to get the pieces of sea glass that fit just right, it's not going to look as finished. So I am going to be a little bit particular around those fussy spots there. But other than that, it's just filling in the background with white. So there you go. I finished my sea glass mosaic that I did from the painting. And as you can see from the sketch, I used the same sketch for both pieces, the painting and the sea glass mosaic. And there's quite a difference because they're 2 totally different mediums, but I'm really pleased with the result. And I think that if you have a particular painting that you like and you wanted to turn it into a sea glass mosaic, it may be well worth the effort. It's just a totally different piece of art. So thanks very much for joining me today. I hope this has been inspirational for you. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them below and I'll get back to you. In the meantime, happy sea glass hunting.